Did you know that you can control and manage any computer that's been purchased? So you can actually just give somebody a login ID and password, and it doesn't matter where they got the computer from. They can log in with that login ID and password, and then suddenly you have control over their computer. This is what Autopilot does, and I will show you how it's set up. It's actually super simple. If you just give me a few minutes, I will show you how. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Irvin, also known as Kugelman. Today's scenario, we have here Adele Vance. She is our new employee. She will be working remotely. So for those reasons, since she is many, many miles away, very long distance away, we will just send her a computer. But guess what? We no longer have to have physical access to the computer that we need to, for example, image, install all the applications she will need, any of that stuff. We no longer have to do any of that. With Autopilot, we can set it up so that we can simply just order a brand new computer from a vendor that your company may be working with. And that vendor can set up, for example, I want to say it's called pre-deployment of the device itself. What that does, it just saves a few clicks for the user once they've received the computer. But that vendor can send that computer directly to Adele. She can set it up at home. She can call help desk for assistance, and then help desk can help her set up whatever is the needs to be, connecting, how to connect everything else to the computer, monitor, keyboard, mice, camera, and etc. Now, you can also buy any computer and also send it to her, and you can still manage that computer. The way it's done is by giving her a cloud-based access. In this sense, it has to be Microsoft 365 login ID and password, in which case we are using her email address to log into the computer once she receives it. So let me kind of show you what it looks like. This is what happens when a fresh install, a clean install of Windows 11 operating system is installed. When you turn on your computer, this is what you see. And from here on, you have to set up basic things like your region and etc. etc. Again, the vendor can set it up, or maybe you can set it up. So it's sort of pre-configured and kind of saves a few steps. It's called pre-deployment, I want to say. But it doesn't matter. In this case, I wanted to show you that you can do it with any computer. Even if Adele went out and bought her own computer, you can still do managing of that computer. So we'll get back to this here once we set up some things within Intune. But again, to start with, she needs her email address, she needs her password, so she can log into the computer. And once she logs in, our company, or Intune, if you will take control of it, and now we can start to control installing of the applications, configuration, and etc. Many other things. And it's actually very simple to set up within Intune. So here is intune.microsoft.com. If you don't have access to this, I have a developer version. This is what I have. You can also request a developer version from Microsoft. I forget exactly what the steps are in order to get approved for this. However, I do have a link, and for the first few people that request a link, I will reply to your comment, so please leave a comment. And also, since this is 100% free course, please do me a favor, like and subscribe, and also just say hi, hello, or present. That way I know that you're interested in this type of free content. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So here it is, intune.microsoft.com. So if we select home here, this is what it looks like, but I just kind of wanted you to see what happens when you go through these menus. So dashboard, this is what you get. You get some overview, and you can monitor the life and health of all the devices that you are controlling. And then you got all services. Anyways, let's get to the point where we start to control these devices. So go ahead and select devices on the left hand side. And in this case, you can see that we have many options and different operating systems. They're all set up slightly differently in a sense, but we can manage Windows devices, iOS, like iPads and such, Mac OS devices, so MacBooks, Android devices, which could be your phone or tablet. And we got Linux devices. We can also manage those. Since this is a Windows device, let's go ahead and concentrate on Windows devices. For those reasons, I will go ahead and select Windows here under Platform. And in this case, we will concentrate on getting to the point where we are simply setting up a base requirement to start immediately managing these devices. So go ahead and select enrollment. There are a lot of things in here which are really, really cool, and I can talk about those towards the end of the video as well if you're interested, or maybe in a future video depending how long this takes. But let's go to the point where we need the minimum setup of the so we have the ability to manage these devices. So let's go ahead and scroll down and look for Windows Autopilot where it says here, and then we will start with deployment profiles, and it says here customize the Windows Autopilot provisioning experience. This is where we will start our setup. So go ahead and select deployment profiles. You can see I have a profile here that is already created. I will go ahead and create a brand new one. Select create profile, select Windows PC. We will type in a name, and I will go ahead and just call it deployment for new users. I will just copy paste in description, and let's just kind of go through this. Again, this is very, very simple and to the point. So it says here convert all targeted devices to Autopilot. I will go ahead and say yes. And it says by default this profile can be applied to Autopilot's devices synced from Autopilot services. That's perfectly fine. Select next on the bottom. Here are some options that we have. We got deployment mode. And if I read the description here, it says deployment mode controls if a user needs to provide credentials in order to provision this device. And in this case, yes, we do. And in that case, and in this case, it's also her login ID or password. In this case, the login ID is the email address. So she will type in her email address followed by the password. And then it says here, gives you a description of two options that we have. First one is user driven. And you can see the user driven says here, devices are associated with the user enrolling the device, and user credentials are required to provide the device. So this is something we already talked about. And then there is self-deploying, and this is something that's in a preview. Devices are not associated with the user enrolling the device, and user credentials are not required to provision this device. We will leave it at user driven because this is the one that we've just kind of described, in the sense that we are going to have her log in to the computer before there is any other account used aside from that. So that will be her main way of logging in, which is that email address and a login ID. And here it says join to Microsoft Entra ID as, and then it says here specify how device joins Active Directory in your organization. It says here Microsoft Entra joined. So this is cloud only without on-premise Windows Server Active Directory. So what this means is we have Microsoft Entra that is basically controlling the user aspects for Adele's account. So if we go back here, this is her account, but if we go to Microsoft Entra, we will have a little bit more of when it comes to control of her account. But basically what that is this cloud-based account that is on that is controlled by Microsoft servers. So this is all cloud-based. Now you can set it up so it's a combination of, again, you can have a traditional Active Directory and set that up in a way where it's a hybrid. But in this case, we will set it up so that it's a Microsoft Extra joined, and we will leave it like that. Here's the hybrid option of it if you already have on-premise Active Directory. Again, if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about when it comes to Active Directory, I have plenty of videos on that. And then it says here, Microsoft software license and terms. This is just something whether you want to show it or not. In this case, I will just go ahead and hide it so they don't see it. And then it says privacy settings, same difference. We know what this is. This is just kind of a formality that has to be done in order to let the customer know or user know that you're actually controlling their computer, and they have to, be aware of that. Sometimes you want to show that or not, depending on your company. By the way, these computers need to be Windows 10 or higher. Well, actually, there might be Windows 8. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Let's just assume everybody's using Windows 10 at minimum, but we are configuring this on Windows 11. And it says here, hide changes on account options. This basically says here, options to change account and start over with a different account appear respectively during initial setup on the company sign-in page and domain page error page. They hide these options. You must configure branding. So you can hide these options when it comes to sign-in options when it comes to account login. And we'll go ahead and leave that as hide. So we just want her to not be confused and just have this regular option so she's always using the same way. Now, we have an option here where it says specify whether users are administrator or standard users on device. This is self-explanatory in this case. She's not an administrator, she's a standard user. But if this is an IT person or some kind of developer, we might want to select administrator. And again, you can set up these profiles specific to the department that they work in. In this case, I want to say she works in finance in this pretend scenario, but she could be working somewhere else. And you can create individual profiles for each one of those and use those accordingly. And I will show you how you can manage that as well. It's really easy. And then it says here, allow pre-provisioned deployment. So this is the thing where I was talking about where you can hide some of these options when it comes to pre-provisioned deployment. I think I call it a pre-deployment setup, but it's actually called pre-provisioning. So, and it says here, enable pressing Windows key 5 times to run OOBE without user authentication to enroll devices and provision all systems contacts to settings. So this is basically if you're going to do some pre-provisioning, and that's fine. In this case, I will go ahead and leave it to no because I want you to see what the other steps are typically that you would normally go to. Otherwise, if you set this up and if you press Windows key 5 times, it will just kind of skip and get to a point where you would just log in. That's all. And then region, I'm just going to leave it at operating system default. You can, of course, change this to whatever your region is. So here is where we decide who or which groups we will manage and specifically control when it comes to managing of those computers that they use. And we can specify literally one group of people. And we talked about Adele working in finance. So we can certainly do that. And I encourage you to actually do that if those people have specific settings that you want to apply them to their computer as well, or specific applications, etc., etc., etc. Or you can simply add all devices. So if you're creating a profile that will be pushed to all of the devices by default, you can certainly do so. And all you have to do is just select add all devices. In this case, I actually want to be very specific. So I will go ahead and select add groups. And here is finance group that shows up. If there are other groups available, they will also be here. Now keep in mind, sometimes these groups don't properly show up. And if they are created before these changes in the system or updates, chances are you may have to recreate those groups in Microsoft Entra. This is formerly known Microsoft Azure AD. So you have to go with, this is Microsoft Extra Admin, and then you would have to go in and create a new group that is Microsoft Entra assignable. So in this case, again, it's there, not to confuse you. We found her group, she's in there, and only people that are part of this group, part of finance group, will get these profile settings applied to their computers. And you can also exclude groups, and if you can, try not to do this where you have to exclude them, because sometimes people will be members of multiple groups, this and that, and hopefully you don't have to do this. I recommend that you keep it as simple as possible. All right, now we know that this is only going to apply people who are from that group. So it's user-based assignment of the autopilot. All right, this is just kind of overview of what we have set up. Go ahead and select create. And it's created successfully. All right, so here is where we were earlier when it comes to deploying and creating or creating deployment profiles. And we have done so. Here it is, deployment profiles. We have done so. We have other things here. For example, Intune connector for Active Directory. This is for the hybrid setup. So if you already have a typical, which chances are you already have Active Directory, that's a classic one, you can set up Intune connector for this. Again, this could be done in a future video. We're just going to keep rolling in this so we can continue with our setup. The next part here is configuration, where it says manage devices. So this is for configuration. The first thing we did was just enrollment. We have some things in here that I've already created, but let's go ahead and specify a new configuration policy. So let's go ahead and select create new policy. We've got different platforms here, and if you want to manage Windows 8 for some reason, we'll go ahead and select Windows 10 or later. So these are the operating systems that we will manage. You got three different options when it comes to profile types. You got settings catalog, properties catalog, and templates catalog. So let's go ahead and see what happens with settings catalog. Basically, it tells you here, start from scratch and select the settings you want from the library of available settings. For properties catalog, start from scratch and select the properties you want from the library of available inventory properties. And then you've got templates. Here you can specify which template you want to use, and it says here templates contain groups of settings organized by functionality, and it says here use a template when you don't want to build a policy manually or configure devices to access corporate networks such as configuration of Wi-Fi or VPN. So these are the basic templates that you can quickly choose to kind of do some configuration and control of the device. Of course, for your organization, you can go ahead and select any of these other ones to specify and very kind of get into details of what you want to control, which is perfectly fine. But for the video of this, for continuation of this video, we'll go ahead and select just one of the templates just to give you an example of what can be controlled. What will we typically manage here? We can manage email. Let's see what this is about. Configure email server communication or their other built-in email settings. You can certainly do that. If you want to specify the email settings, like say email is using a different server for some reason. You can do endpoint protection. Let's see what else. We can set up VPN or Wi-Fi. Let's go ahead and set up VPN and see what happens here. Name, VPN, setup. We may not have all of this information because we don't have VPN configured per se. And it says here, use this VPN profile with user devices and scope. I'll go ahead and select users because we want it to be user-based, not necessarily device-based, because in case somebody else gets a hold of the device, they will have VPN access. So we'll go to make it user-based. Connection type. And these are options of type of VPN you have. It says this is a type of VPN server you're using in your company. And for example, we've got Cisco AnyConnect, we got Pulse Secure, any of these, and we can set up even automatic, which is a native type. These are all options that you have. So let's in this case pretend that we have Pulse Secure. Why not? Here we can set up some settings, and here is connection name. And these are all things you can set up. Now, obviously, I don't have a setup VPN because this is not something that I'm doing at my company. This is just for the video. But whatever the settings are for your VPN, this is the information that you would need. For example, description and obviously VPN server address. And you would have all of this information to set up specific to your company. So in this case, if you want to set up VPN automatically, which is fine, you can certainly do so. Again, you saw that there are other options. Let's just do one more real quick. Windows 11 profile type template, just to give you an idea of what else you can set up. Here is device restrictions. Let's go ahead and talk about device restrictions. All right, restrictions. Next, you can restrict all kinds of things here, and I suspect this is where you would spend a lot of time. So if you want to put restrictions on App Store, you can block the App Store, block App Store. You can set up all kinds of stuff. So it says here you can install apps on system drive. You can block that if you want. You can do all kinds of things. You can customize this, and it's all right here for you, where you can easily set up all these things. Even things like control panel settings, you can customize all of this, and as a system admin, chances are you would spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out what this is. But yet again, we're going to make this easy, and we will just select some things just to kind of keep it going. You know, all kinds of things you can save or disable, similar to what you would do when it comes to, you know, using, like, let's say, group policy to disable certain things on the computer. And again, you can just fiddle through here and make sure that you have everything selected. Again, I will manage by group and select finance, customize it again however you want. Same thing, assign profile if it's OS edition. Here we go, enterprise, home, or professional. Select next. I'm happy with that. Okay. Many different things that you can do when it comes to restrictions, when it comes to configuration of these devices. It's really cool, and it doesn't really take that much knowledge to actually create these. So if I refresh, we can see here that our restrictions profile here is, let's do another one that looks useful to me as well. Templates. Here is device firmware configuration, and where is my endpoint protection? Here is endpoint protection, so which is endpoint protection, which is typically our antivirus, which is Windows Defender stuff, Microsoft Defender, and you can set this up however you want. You can, you know, Windows encryption, all kinds of stuff. You can set all of this up, and you can set it up so that you can require encryption of the device, which, yeah, sure, why not, right? And all of these other things that are useful to IT people or admins, if you will. All right. Same type of deal. OS edition, home, professional. All right. So that's the gist of it, right, when it comes to configuration. Next thing here is compliance. This is a way to make sure that the computer is compliant, and some things that pertain to this, for example, is a BitLocker. You can say that you can see that I've got a couple of things in here. For example, this one is called BitLocker, and this one is set up so that it will monitor and make sure that the computer has BitLocker enabled. So to create this policy, again, it's right under configuration, compliance, select create policy, select platform Windows 10. It's very similar to what we've done previously for the configuration. And I will call it enforce BitLocker. All right, so this is just to check for the compliance, and this will let us know whether the BitLocker or anything else is not enabled. Here it is under device health. You can say require BitLocker. You can say require secure boot, for example. Device properties, you can set up minimum OS version, etc., etc. Next. And send email to end user if it's not compliant, meaning that, let's say the computer hasn't been turned on for a while and you want to let them know that they need to turn on their computer so it becomes compliant to whether it's getting, let's say, computer updates, Microsoft updates, or anything else that you set it up as. You can send an email to user and send the email, and you can specify how many days after it's non-compliant. I'd say 7. So that way, if a computer hasn't been turned on in 7 days, it will send them an email. And we got message template. We can say, well, we need to create a new message template. So we have to send a notification message. However, we don't have one created, and the message simply would say, please turn on your computer to get updates or to make sure your computer is updated. And we can simply create this from the compliance section here. And it says here, select notification message. To create a new notification, please visit notification in the manage section of the device compliance workload. So let's go ahead and open up on the side. We'll leave this open, but I want to open up that compliance area that we were at earlier in a new tab, just so we can create this template. And This is obviously here, if we scroll down, it says compliance under devices. So again, select devices, scroll down, select compliance. And on the right, you will see next to policies, it says notification, create a notification. So select create a notification. It says turn on PC. Let's just call it that. Select next and show company logo. That's fine. Tenant value, enable. Okay. Show company. This is semantics here. I just want to get to the point where I type in the message. Notification message template. Select add. Select locale, and I will make it so that it's in English. Subject. Computer is turned off. Please turn it back on. All right. And in the body, I will say, please turn on your computer and make sure it is connected to internet so that it can receive, I'm going to say, security updates. That way makes it more urgent. Okay, select save. Select a default template. Okay, I need to make it a default. Here it is. That's all it needed. That's all it needed. All right, next, create. Okay, now it's creating over here. Now we can select our template. So let me just cancel out of this one here and then select a message template here. Now it will pop up. There it is. Here is our template. All right. And we can select additional recipients. And for this, we can set up so that IT people or security folks can get a notification that this computer is basically not within compliance because it's turned off. So I can email or notify an entire group of people. In this case, I don't feel like setting up security department here or a security group, so I will just going to select deployment team here. And everybody that's part of that distribution group or distribution email group will get an email where it says deployment team at blah, 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 blah. All of these people that are members of deployment team will get an email because they have a shared email address. So select that, select next. And here we go, assignments. And in this case, I will go ahead and actually set this up for all users. I think that makes sense. And yeah, I will leave it at that. I will set up so that it's for all users. Okay, and however fits for you, for your company, you can customize all of this. All right, so that's been done. So yeah, in compliance, you can set up all kinds of different things, create different policies, this and that, and monitor those policies as well at the same time. And of course, there are tons of other things, but again, we will make this simple and just keep it going. All right. One last thing here that we can look at before we get to the apps, because we want to get to the fun part here where we start to deploy apps as well. Let's just make sure Windows Updates is set up. We have Update Ring 1 that is set up. Let's go ahead and select the Create Profile. What this is just to make sure that the updates are being created. So I will just call it Ring 2 for updates. And the point of rings is that if you want to deploy updates at different intervals to different users, this is why you would create multiple rings. So let's say new update comes out today. Well, I don't necessarily want everybody to get this update. I want to test this update first. So if you have a ring 1 that is, for example, technical support people who know to fix computers or to work on computers in case there is an issue, you want them to get the update first, and then maybe a week later everybody else, and etc. However you want to set it up. So for this ring 2, it says Microsoft product updates. I'm going to say allow, Windows drivers allow. However, I want to defer it. And it says quality updates deferral period. This is for quality updates and feature updates. I can defer those, let's say 7 days, and feature updates to 10 days. And it says here, upgrade Windows 10 devices to the latest Windows 11 release. If this is what you want to do for this specific ring, again, keep in mind, you can just do this per department basis. Let's say you want to update finance department from Windows 10 to Windows 11. You can certainly set this up and say, yeah, sure. So I will go ahead and say this. And I will go ahead and say this just in case there are Windows 10 computers out there. And it says here, by selecting this option, you're agreeing that when applying this operating system to a device, either one, following the terms of use for Microsoft. And it says set feature update uninstall period. I'm going to leave it at 10 days. That's fine. And pre-release builds. No, I'm going to leave this here fine. This is default. This is if you want somebody to preview, test different releases of Windows. Auto install at maintenance time. You can specify this. I will go ahead and say auto install and the restart at maintenance time, whatever the maintenance time is. And I will set maintenance time to be from 12 a.m. to, I'm sorry, this is to suppress when, because I don't want these to happen while person is working. I will adjust this from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. because some people work late. So this is the range of the time where I don't want these updates to install. So between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. I don't want these updates to install because I don't want them to interrupt the work. All right, option to pause Windows updates. Sure, enable. Sometimes you want to disable this if some computers are, or some people are constantly postponing it. So I will actually go and disable it now. Okay, that's fine. Change notifications, update level, use default Windows up, that's fine. Deadline settings, I will leave this off. Again, you can customize this however you want. I will select for this one. I will add, again, we talked about finance department. It's because right now I just want to make sure all finance departments get Windows 11 update, assuming their computers are compatible. And that is that. Okay. All right, that's done. Let's go ahead and set up our apps for deployment. So if we select apps under devices, we can see all the apps that are in here. And again, we are working with Windows updates. Right now, I have Microsoft apps set up to install automatically on Windows 10 and later. You see the theme here. It's very simple. The way to set up things, the menus, the way they look, they're all simple. It's very easy. So let's go and select a new one just to show you how it's done. We can, let's say, do Microsoft Edge here, and then we can install Microsoft Edge. But you can see here that you can customize some things. For example, web application, and you can say, I want to just create a web application link that will be pushed to my computer. You can do store apps. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. So it's store apps if you want to install a new store app. Microsoft 365 apps. We already have set this up. Excuse me. Line of business apps and Windows apps. So regular apps. Let's say you want to install Chrome. You can do this. All of this type of stuff is kind of self-explanatory when it comes to configuring. So let's just do Edge real quick. Select Edge, and then we'll go to regular apps as well. And basically, it tells you here what Microsoft Edge does. This is kind of pre-set up, and it's simple enough. You just kind of select Next, and channel type, what kind of application it is, and you say you install the stable version rather than beta or developer version. And here's a logo that you can set up, and you can set up language that's used. You know, if it's other than English, you can change that. Assignment, I will say all users can have Edge. Go ahead and select Next. Very straightforward. So this one is kind of filled out, but you can actually go through and set up a logo. So let's go ahead and do that as well with a custom app that we will set up here. All right, so this is taking a while. I'm not sure why. There is some kind of a thing going on here. Anyways, let's go ahead and create a new app. This might error out the one we just did because there's some kind of lag going on. So let's set up a regular applications here. We have Windows app. So let's go ahead and select Windows app, Win32 based type of application. Select next and select app package. So we need to select our app package. Now keep in mind, this package needs to be in Intune type of format so that Intune can handle it. You can see here, if I select over an app file type, it says a file that contains your app in a format that can be side-loaded on a device. And then it says valid package type is dot Intune win, W-I-N. So let's say in this case, and let me show you a file that I already have available here. This is Chrome. And you can see now that this Chrome install, this used to be MSI, and underneath it is probably still MSI package. It's just that this type of extension or format allows it to side load, meaning that it allows it to push through Intune system, if you will. So this used to be .msi, now it's .intune win. So how do you get to that point? Well, you go to and find or package whatever it is that you're trying to install and make sure you have the .msi version of it, or I think a couple of other versions are also supported, and you have to convert it to a .intune win extension. So in order to do that, you would get the package, and in this case, let me just minimize this here. I have it downloaded here, and it's program called, and this is all provided from Microsoft. So you will need Intune, what is called Intune Win. It's called Intune Win App Utility. You can download this from Microsoft. Microsoft has a link to GitHub that downloads the entire folder. Make sure you download the entire folder that contains this. And you got some licensing and this and that. Anyways, you run it, and then you specify where the source folder is, where you've downloaded your MSI. So in this case, I have Google Chrome, and it's within configuration. Anyways, I went ahead and put MSI within just the root of the drive, just so it's simple to do. I will go ahead and copy the name of it. So this is the MSI, and I will specify where the source folder is, which is D, and then specify the setup file, which is that .msi. When I hit enter, it will convert it. Okay, I need to do backslash here, .msi. Okay, and then specify output folder, which I will just call the output because there is a folder within there that's called output. You can see it right here. And then hit enter, and it says, do you want to specify catalog folder? I will say yes. My catalog folder is within a folder called output. It's just called catalog. When I hit enter, now within output folder there will be a win file, Intune win file that I can now select when configuring my app package. Okay, now if I go in here, here's my Intune. Of course, I navigate to it where it's at, select OK, and you can name it if you want. By default, it just kind of populates everything for you, which is nice because it can read the MSI that's within there. And if you're happy with all the settings there that are here, you can select category. I will go ahead and say productivity apps just to label it. Show this app is featured in the company portal. Not necessarily. That's fine. Here is a logo. We can set up a logo image here. And for this, I will just go ahead and navigate to where I've downloaded my bundle from Google Chrome. Here's configuration. Here's installers. I think within configuration, examples, there should be an icon here for Chrome somewhere. I don't know. There is an icon here somewhere for Chrome. But anyways, you can find the icon that is for it. Make sure it's selected. Select next. Oh, publisher name. I need to type in publisher name. Sorry, I went ahead and missed that. Select next. And here are some custom custom instructions that you might want to give it to. You can see right now that it's using MSI exec, which is basically telling it to basically install it, and to install what. And here is our MSI that's packaged within that side loading setup that we've done for the Intune. So basically these are just simple instructions just to run it. And here it says installation time required before it gives up, and it says total number of minutes system will wait for installed program to finished, and default value is 60. So it's like, how long is it going to wait before it actually fails to install? It says allow available uninstall. I will say no because I don't want users to remove it. And okay, app install may force a device restart. That's fine. Depending whether you want to restart. For Google Chrome, I don't necessarily need to restart the computer, right? So, and here are some codes that you can set up. Anyways, to keep it simple, I will go ahead and just select next. This is basically if it says the thing failed to do, and it says, you know, failed to do this and that, it will give you a return code, which are these, which you can change to whatever you want, and you can specify what kind of code it is. All right, operating architecture, you can install 32-bit or 64-bit or both. I will select both just in case one works and the other one. Here's a minimum operating system. I will go ahead and select, let's say 20H2. This is the version, major release version of Windows. In this case, I will say Windows 10 at minimum. And you can specify this space required, physical memory required, and this and that if you want to be very specific, if it's a sensitive type of application. In this case, it's just Windows Chrome, so you don't need to specify anything too much. So when it comes to this one here, detection rules, it says configure app specific rules to detect the presence of the app. So in case it's already installed, in this case, I will not do anything here just because we want to keep this simple. So I'll go ahead and just select add here and select one, whether there is a, let's say, registry entry for this, and you can specify key path or where the registry entry would be for this application. Again, you can obviously test this before you actually deploy. You can specify whether the MSI is there. And in this case, I will just kind of leave it at this product code, and I will select next. And dependencies, if require some kind of dependencies, and you've seen these things. For example, let's say you need some kind of distributable dependency or .NET framework or anything else, you might want to add this, and it will automatically install as well. In this case, again, it's just Google Chrome. And apps that would, this app will supersede. Again, we're just going to keep it simple. Select next. And this is where we assign our groups that will get this app. Go ahead and add the group. And here's our finance group. Select, just like we did before. Again, you can do add all users or devices. Or in this case, actually, let's go ahead and change this to remove, and I want to actually install it to all users. Google Chrome, why not? Here we go, just to confirm everything, and this is done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally at the point where we can actually test this to see if it is working. So, first of all, let's go back to our devices here. Right now it says 0 devices. There's nothing on here that we are controlling, and now we are going to log into the computer as Adele. All right, here is our computer freshly installed. So this is typical that you would do. You can guide the user to do this. Help desk can do this as well. Just basic stuff. Next, next, skip. And this is that part where I was telling you that you can actually set this up so that users don't even see this. They kind of go straight to setting up their or connecting to their Wi-Fi. Because that's part of it, right? It has to be part of the network, or it has to be on the internet. And you can guide them through this over the phone, and it's just really simple. This will probably end up happening anyways, unless you set up that anyways, that stuff where you just kind of skip the parts of it. Sorry, I'm kind of, all right, so the computer kind of went ahead and restarted, and it will probably do some updates here because it's connected to the internet. It's been connected for a while, so that's probably what it's doing right now. It will get us back to where we need to go. And it says here, let's name your device. We will skip this because Intune will do this for us. So it's going to skip for now. And we will get to a point where we log in as Adele. All right, here's the crucial point. Obviously, we have two options here, set up for personal use or set up for work or school. And it says here, get access to your organizational resources like email, blah, blah, blah. Your organization will have full control over this device. Select next. All right, here is our login ID and password. I will just copy paste it in here. If it lets me, and it doesn't let me, so I will just type it in. Adele V at 6tdb.onmicrosoft.com, whatever the email is, password. Oh, I messed up something. I'll have to redo it. H okay, sign in. Here's where the magic happens, or at least part of it. This is where your device will be set up by Intune. Intune will start to control immediately, and it will start to install all of those devices. It will start to apply those configuration settings. It will start to monitor the computer for compliance. Everything that you've set up, it will start to do. And it kind of goes to show how really simple this is to get going. You saw it within however long this video is, maybe an hour or so. You can do this on your own as well. You can get this going and start to manage. Of course, you can experiment with this before you even deploy anything, before you make it official thing that your company does. Again, you can set this up so the user doesn't see any of this. In this case, I will go ahead and leave this where you can find the location and find my device. And I will disable some of this stuff here that I don't want. Okay, click accept. And yeah, it's coming. It's the typical thing that you would see when you buy a new computer and you log into it, except now Intune is going to start to take over and control every aspect of this computer. Here it comes. It's creating a local profile as well for Adele. We'll see how that looks like. It will basically be just Microsoft, quote unquote, type of login ID and password. And at some point she can also set up a PIN to make it easier to log in instead of having to type in the password and all that. And it says here, use Windows Hello with your account. Your organization requires you to set up work school account with Hello face fingerprint or PIN. So this is that additional security that you can do as a company that will help you secure your computer on top of the password that you may have to use, or you can use the PIN instead of the password. All right. And you can also use it so that it recognizes your face, right? If there is a webcam on this device. And in this case, you need to have a two-factor setup. Adele will have to have this set up on her computer, on her phone. Right now I'm typing in the password on my phone here on behalf of Adele, and will let us proceed. So that's a two-factor. Here we can set up a PIN, which could just be a password. These are things that can be customized as well. Okay, and here it is. It's happening. So here are some things that are being changed right now. You can see how these things are kind of syncing right now. This is Intune working right away. Here you see that Adele is logged in as herself, and we can see now that shortly that it will start to install Microsoft Office, all these things that are being managed by the company itself. And it may take a few minutes for us to see the results, right? Usually this type of stuff will start to kind of be manageable and viewable within Intune, kind of where you can see it properly working within half hour within that web interface for the intune.microsoft.com. And same thing for the user. It may take few hours for it to start to install everything depending on how fast their internet connection is. Now, part of it is to connect to Wi-Fi or to your internet in case there is no connection already available. Here you can see that I was already connected to the network. That's why it didn't ask me that, but you would have to guide them through connecting to the internet. So that's one part of it. All right. So as far as users are concerned, they can't tell the difference until some things start to populate. Things may get removed, things will start to get added, and you can force a sync on it to make sure it kind of speeds up. Here are some things that will come up as like not in compliant. For example, remember we set up so that there's a warning if there is no BitLocker enabled. In this case, you can see there is no BitLocker enabled. If I right click and select turn on BitLocker, I have that option, right? And that's the thing here. You can set up that's where the compliance part of it comes in. This will let you know that there's no BitLocker enabled. Of course, you can manage and see the BitLocker keys once it's enabled, and it will enable. You just got to give it time because that's how it is. This is how it happens. Let's go back to our devices here, and let's do a refresh here on devices. I will go ahead and do a refresh. See if it's able to see it yet. Here it is. Here is our desktop here. It's showing up. All right, we can see that Adele is logged into it. Let's go to select a sync to kind of fast forward. It should have been already initiated automatically, but we'll go ahead and set it up. We have a last check-in time, which was literally a minute ago. So we are waiting for it to kind of sync up. Here it is. One device showed up. Okay, let's go back to our machine and see if it's starting to sync up. See if it's installing anything else. So it's a little bit too soon for us to see something else happening, so we will have to give it some time for it to start happening. All right, let's see if anything is installing. Oh yeah, sure enough, looks like some things are installing. Looks like Excel, Access. So Microsoft 365 stuff is being installed. And if you look at here, the system, sorry, I'm starting to run out of voice. That says desktop BVA 0963. If we go back to Intune, we can see that it's the same thing. If we look at the details, it says, here it is the computer name. And we can see that it's Adele on here, and then we can see that it's running on a virtual box, which is where I have the machine running. And you can do a lot of things here when it comes to Resource Explorer. You can see info about the computer. You can do some management. Here's device compliance. This will tell us that it's not compliant in something, which is what we want. Here's that BitLocker thing that we've set up. Well, this one here, the one we set up earlier, but the one that we've set up here is not properly showing up. Anyways, we can look at these things and kind of see what's going on. Sorry, I'm running out of voice. My voice is like, my throat is really getting messed up. Recovery keys for any BitLockers. It hasn't been encrypted yet, but they will show up here. You can do some device diagnostics. You can see group memberships, if any. And again, it takes a while for this populate, but I'd say within 24 hours you'll get a really good picture of what is going on. And you can do all kinds of different things, and you can here rename the device if you want as well. So many different things. You can set up to restart after rename. Sorry, I'm really my throat is starting to hurt. because it got dry. And anyway, so these are all cool things you can do. And we can continue talking about this. You can see, Windows. Sorry, I'm running out of voice, literally. I want to show you something really cool too, as a last thing. Let's go back to the devices. Find this device. So if I select this device, I can actually retire this device. I can literally wipe it, do a full wipe of it. Of course, I can do a delete, but that kind of just removes it from within here, within Intune. But if I do a wipe, it will do a full reset of the device. And if I select wipe here, it literally tells you, are you sure you want to wipe this? And it basically resets the whole computer back to how it was. So, and you can tell it to continue doing it even if the device loses power. That means it can't be stopped. And in case this computer is being, let's say this person leaves. Let's say Adele decides to leave. You want to wipe this as soon as possible, or in case somebody steals the computer. You never know. So these are the things you can do, which I really think are really, really cool. Again, there's a lot we can talk about. I can keep talking about it in the next video. You just got to let me know in the comments below. I hope you like this video, and I hope you realize that it's actually not that difficult to get this going. And given enough time, you can become an expert at all of this. This is just scratching the surface of how many things you can do in regards to configuration, compliance. This is just to get you going. But again, if we go back to enrollment, there are a lot of things here you can set up. Here's the co-management setting here. Let's say you have a configuration manager that is, installed on your premise that you normally use for installing applications. You can set that up as well. You can set that up so that your, SCCM configuration manager controls the installation of the software. You can do that too as well. The device limit restrictions, platform restrictions, enrollment, notification. You can send an email or push notification device after they enroll, so you can send them notification. Let's say, for example, hello, or I just say welcome to our company. Let's just do that. Next, and send push notification on. So let's just send our push notification there. And or you can send an email if you want. And you can set up a scope tag. All right. Add group. I'll say add all users. Next. All right. Create. Okay. So, anyways, you can send that, and that's the gist of it. So, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. My voice is completely run out. You can do many things, as I've already kind of talked about it quite a lot here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please share this with friends and people that might like this type of stuff. Take care. Bye-bye.